Welcome to the Flat Ride of the Week weekly series. In this series, me and Schwarzkopf Fanboy, the GPDE community's most knowledgeable flat ride enthusiast, have a casual discussion about various flat rides, new and old, in an effort to help inform the wider roller coaster community on the forgotten world of flat rides. Please keep in mind that unlike coasters, information on flat rides is extremely difficult to find. The most comprehensive flat ride database has not even been updated since 2006, so please keep that in mind when watching this video. If you find any inaccuracies, please politely correct us in the comment section so we can all learn together. Let's get into this week's flat ride, the TopSpin. Alright Alex, so tell me about some of the history of the TopSpin.
So yeah, the first TopSpin ride debuted on the famous Oktoberfest in München in 1990. It was made by Huss. The first model was a TopSpin 1, because then later the TopSpin 2 came. I'm going to talk about that later. The TopSpin model became very popular at both fairs and theme parks. The prototype can be identified by the folding arm on the prototype. It is on the left instead of the right on the other normal transportable models.
And when you say folding arm, what is the folding arm?
For the transport. So the arm needs to fold to fit on the trailer.
Okay. Alright, and then the first TopSpin in the US opened in 1993 at Geauga Lake. It was named Texas Twister. Got relocated to CGA in 2007 when Geauga Lake closed, named Firefall, and it did close unfortunately at that park in 2016.
So you can recognize the Huss types of TopSpins by the two plaques that are on the bottom of both supports. And if you want to know if it's transportable, you can look next to the two supports where there are water towers if it's transportable. So Huss made four types of TopSpins. First of all, the normal TopSpin. The capacity is 40 people per ride. This is one of the most successful types of TopSpins ever. It's transportable and permanent. It's still in production actually, but only permanent. For example, the Twister at Six Flags Great Adventure, that was a TopSpin 1 by us. Then we have the TopSpin 2, which is a smaller version of the TopSpin, 28 people per ride. It debuted in 1993, which is not confirmed because there is no known prototype. The TopSpin 2 is transportable or permanent, and it's not in production anymore.
Alright, and then we have the very well known, at least here in the US and in Ohio especially, the giant TopSpin. 77 people per ride, 3 rows, 70 feet or 21 meters in height. Only one was built, and it was at Kings Island in 2002, known as Tomb Raider the Ride. Giant TopSpin. There's some photos out there of this thing outside of its box, and the box for it is still there at Kings Island. It's the big white building to the left of Diamondback when you're going down the first drop, and it is huge. This ride was massive. It's a real shame that it did unfortunately close. It closed in 2011, and it is not in production anymore. Very sad, but quite the ride.
So then we have the suspended TopSpin, which is a kind of a floorless TopSpin with 2 rows facing back to back, 38 people per ride, and it's only available permanent. It debuted somewhere in the mid-2000s at Everland in South Korea. There is no known opening date for that one. That model is still in production, and for example, there is Stalken at Phantasialand and the Crypt at King's Dominion. So let's move on to the competition. The TopSpin has a lot of copies all around the world. Most of them are made in the mid and 90s because that's when the model was very popular.
An example of a competition to the Huss TopSpin is the Top Fun TopSpin. Top Fun, of course, is known for being the manufacturer of the famous great coaster Rainier Rush, and they made quite a few small copies.
Well, I actually wrote a small copy of the TopSpin from TopSpin. It's pretty fun actually, but the movement is completely different than he has. It's really not comparable.
It's got those really,
The,
really short arms for it. Like, I can
yeah,
imagine it
yeah.
being very, very different than a Huss.
But actually, when it hits, when the arms are spinning at full speed, it's really forceful at the bottom.
Really?
It's yeah, it's very weird.
Huh.
It also has fountains.
It
I
just.
wrote this in the winter. It was very cold, but the operator didn't care and still put on the fountains in our faces. It was very funny.
Just looking at that ride, it looks like something that the people that designed Rainier Rush thought was a good idea.
Yeah. So then we have another well-known copy, the Mondial version, which is a kind of a tough spin but with two separate gondolas. For example, the Riptide at Canada's Wonderland.
And then there are some other competitors to the Huss Topspin. However, the Huss Topspin and the competition we just noted, the gondola always stays horizontal. The other type of top spin competition has arms that can move in different directions, so it causes the gondola to move obviously in different directions. So we're not mentioning those because that ride and ride model has a completely different history than the Huss and the Huss competition. That will be a separate video if you guys are interested. All right, and then some other interesting facts about the top spin.
So yeah, the world record for a manually controlled topspin is 107 flips. This record is held by the TopSpin 2 at Serengeti Park in Germany.
Is it still operating?
It is. It's still operating, but sadly not in a very great shape anymore.
Oh. All right, and then another thing with the top spin is that they are actually still being sold. Mostly to parks in Asia. Quite a few Chinese parks have been buying them up lately. So they are definitely still being sold, which is, you don't hear about that very often. And then the most recent top spin on the other side to close was the Crypt at King's Dominion, which was news just a few weeks ago, which is really unfortunate. That was the suspended top spin model, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty new model, and it's already closing, which is sad.
Yeah, definitely. So, on the other hand, in Europe, 5 Haas topspins are still traveling. So they still move from fair to fair, which is, I have respect for the showmen that are still traveling with a ride that's pretty hard to set up. It's not as easy anymore and as efficient as newer modern rides. The 5 that are still traveling are in Germany and France. Germany has 2 normal topspin still traveling, and 1 topspin 2, so a smaller one. And then the one in France is a normal topspin 1. And it goes to the famous Foire du Trône in Paris, which is known for the Socket coaster King, and a Schwarzkopf Jetstar also goes there every year. So yeah.
All right. Are you aware if the prototype is still traveling? Any of the prototypes?
Yeah. That's one of them in Germany.
Ah,
It
all
still
right.
goes to the Oktoberfest where it debuted. It still goes there every year.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. Anything else to add?
No, not really.
All right. Well, then that'll do it for this video on the TopSpin, the Huss model and competition to the Huss model. A very well-known ride. Not quite as well-known as the Enterprise that we did last week. Definitely well-known, though, and definitely appreciated and well-loved. I still have yet to ride one. Maybe we'll change that this year. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.